Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show you guys how I make these little gnomes. Now we're going to be sculpting one that's like a size bigger because I intend to use these for earrings, and I'm sculpting them in a way where they're like flat backed so that I can make molds of them without it having to be a two-part mold, and I want to make like little electroformed charms and stuff out of them. But regardless of how of the project that you want to use your gnomes for, the techniques to sculpt them are going to be very similar. So that's an idea of what we're making. And also, it's very easy to adapt what we're doing to make a three-dimensional gnome that you can do as like an ornament. If I wanted to make this into an ornament, I would drill probably into it at a little bit of an angle and set like a screw eye pin and use like a little ornament hook or something. But yeah, the materials and the techniques remain the same. You would just continue it around to the back, as well as what we're about to do on the front. So the materials that I'm working with today, I'm using Clay Sculpt in soft, as well as Clay Sculpt in extra firm, which it says there on the front. I used the extra firm and if you don't have an extruder, you can do this by hand, but I just used this really fine extruder tip, like the size of the holes is tiny, to extrude out some of the Clay extra firm into the Forbidden Spaghetti, just as a real fine. But if you don't have that, you can take just pinches of clay, roll them between your fingers, and then roll them out on the tabletop into like little wee bitty snakes. And you can roll those as thick or as thin as you want. And so long as they have nice tapered ends, I think they'll work fantastically for your beard that we'll be doing on our gnome. So we're using Clay Sculpt. You could use Sculpty Primo or Kato or whatever your preferred brand of polymer clay is. Just follow the instructions for baking. And again, you could even possibly do this out of air dry clay, but I would be concerned about cracking and different things like that. But whatever your preferred medium is, again, the techniques and steps kind of remain the same. I have rolled our soft clay out through the oven's preheated, which, by the way, whenever you bake these, you will want to make sure to have your oven preheated, because oftentimes an oven will go over temperature to bring it up to temperature, and I have scorched many a project out of haste. Go ahead and let the oven preheat to whatever temperature your clay wants. The clay wants for 275 Fahrenheit or 135 Celsius, and it says to bake for 30 minutes per 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters. So your clay should have those same instructions on its package. So I like to use a cookie cutter, or these are clay cutters. All the tools and materials that we're using in this video will be linked down in the video description. But I've rolled out the clay to its thickest setting on the pasta machine, and then I come through and I'll use, this is the 3/4 inch clay cutter, and so I cut out squares, because if I want the two things that I'm making to match, it helps if I start with the same amount of materials. And so these two squares will become the hat, this one square will become the beard, and then this is just like a cake decorator, like decorating tip, and I just go through and I press and then pull, and I'm going to make the nose be 2 of these, which sometimes they stick in the cutter itself and sometimes they stick to the tile. But I'm just going to take those and I'm going to roll them together. And I've done this twice, so now I have 2 noses. I'm going to set my clay off to the side. But we'll take our 2 squares that are going to be the hat for our gnome, and then I'm going to roll it together into a ball, and then from here, holding my hand at like kind of a 45-degree angle, I can just roll and it starts to bring it into a tapered point, like it's a little cone now. And I want both of the hats to be, if you're just making one gnome, like for a pendant or an ornament or something, then don't worry about making them match. But if you're like me and trying to make them be potentially earring partners, or you just want to practice trying to replicate something, because it's a fun challenge on its own as well, then maybe this will be helpful to you. But yeah, just trying. And I also like to work on a grid mat because that way I can really get an idea. I'm not just having to eyeball it without reference points. So I can bring in this tip. And also I like on the grid board because I'll look at not just the length, trying to get them to be the same lengthwise, but I can also look at 1/4 of an inch in this one is thinner than this one. So we can start to redistribute the bulk of the clay, again, to make it more symmetrical. Which I'm not getting hung up on perfection though. I want to, but I'm not going to, just for my own sanity's sake. And so I'm going to take these, and I flattened the backs just a little bit. If you want it to be 3-dimensional, don't bother flattening the backs. And I'm smushing now with my fingers towards the surface just to get it started. And then I'm going to come through and pinch around this way. Now, the larger the gnome that you make, the more you can get away with like using your hands. If you'd like to see exactly how I sculpted these little guys, which were very difficult because I couldn't just use my fingers to pinch the edge. I had to like figure out how to do it using like tools and stuff that did fit into those small spaces. Check us out over on Kick. It's www.kick.com/back-to-earth-creations. And that's where we actually recorded this tutorial with a studio audience. Hey, shout out to our studio audience. Thank you guys so much for keeping me company while I record this. And in that way you can kind of like ask questions and get insight and see how we do our prototype pieces before, actually recording the tutorial. But that over there I demonstrated how to sculpt those tiny ones. But these ones are a little bit more medium sized. They're not quite giant the way that this hat is, but they're a little bit easier because I can just come through and use my fingers to pinch. Now I'm not bothering to do much work on the back side because again that's going to be smushed flat up against the tile that we're going to be sculpting and baking on. And honestly, I find half sculptures easier to wear as jewelry, not just because they're lighter, but they take up significantly less bulk. Like it would be really challenging to wear this guy as like a pendant because he's massive. Whereas if it were a half of him, he'd still be massive, but he'd be less massive, which is more manageable. To each their own on massive jewelry, I say. But it's just ideas. Or if you wanted to make it as an ornament, doing it half, now you're putting half as much weight up on the tree, or wherever you're hanging it from. It could be a wreath or something as well. And now, even though we still have it flat on the back, I am going to go ahead and do a little bit of a twisting here. So I'm just placing my thumb into the hat and I'm twisting in one direction, just enough to give it that little bit of texture and character. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it on my other thumb actually, and then use the same fingers as what I had on the other hand. I am just twisting and shaping around the hat on this side. And this way we can kind of make them be, well, those aren't symmetrical at all, but we tried. This way we can get them to, just try to look like each other a little. And whenever I twist, I like to push down as well, because a lot of the movement that we do while we're sculpting can tend to stretch the clay out. And so just twisting that around. There we go. Now, don't get hung up on perfection right now either, because we're going to be doing quite a few more steps that add a whole bunch of different details. And refining will be coming on later. And so now I'm going to sculpt and roll for the beard. And I'm going to do that same thing where I just roll kind of side to side, pressing down, and it drags it into a nice little teardrop. And then we can press down to flatten the head of the teardrop. And now again, we'll want to shape and get the tips to match. I'd like a nice pointy beard. And if we do a very sharp point here with the core of the beard, then that's going to give us a stronger pointy tip later on. And trust me on that one. It's I've been sculpting beards all morning. But go ahead and try it too. Other ways you might have better luck than I did. But I'm going to try to make these mirrored. So that one's going that way. So this one's going to need to go this way. So here we go. Just twisting a little bit. And now that we have the three main components of our beards, or of our gnomes set up, I'm going to get them set up on their tile. So this is just a, how wide is this? 6-inch tile from like the hardware store. And I like to use the plain glazed ceramic tiles because that glaze is non-porous, and so I can really press the, like how we did on these ones, I can really press the clay up against the tile and it'll pop off real easy. And they're also really nice to make molds on. So, because again, it's a nice, smooth, clean surface, very level. You know, the cleaner of a surface I work with or start with, the less cleanup work I have to do later on in my piece, is what I found. Okay, and so now from here, I'm going to, no, I'm not going to try to trim some off the back. I'm just going to start like kind of smushing the heck out of it. So trying to maintain our shape of what we had done. I'm just going to squish that on there, and then we're going to take our beard and we're going to press that kind of up and in. And again, since these guys are a little larger, I don't mind having it coming up away from the clay. I am not going to use the noses yet. I am actually going to take the noses and go bake them in the oven. That way they're ready for the next step. So our little noses are in the oven, and that is okay, because now I'm going to try to do the same thing here on the other side, and I'm giving them plenty of space. We can always reposition them on the tile if I want to make a mold with them later. So again, just using my fingers to keep everything more or less in its shape. And then I can always pick it up some, twist around a little bit more. You can use something with like a nice blunt edge to press in those indents. And it's a little exaggerated right now, but you'll see why here in a little bit. And really use your own favorite texturing techniques. Just because I'm doing it, it does not, like, just because it's the way that I'm doing it does not mean it is the only way, or that it is the right way, or that it is the best way. It's just how I happen to be doing it today. So, gosh, that kind of looks like a croissant roll. But anyways, like, not a very good croissant roll, but it's reminding me. So yeah, I'm just putting a little bit of little twist corkscrew marks in it. And then here we can take our beard and we can kind of press it up and in. Now already that's starting to look like something like carrots with hats on maybe. But now we get into the realm of noodles. And I really like to take these and start from where they extruded from the extruder. And I just pull. And so now we have a really nice chunk. And I can kind of just take off a section and kind of twist them up together. You know, we're getting ahead of ourselves though. let me set that off to the side. We're actually going to come in with this angled silicone tool. You could use whatever your favorite sculpting tool is. And I am just starting to put in some pretty serious lines, like gently at first, but then we can really start to get in there. In fact, on this larger one, I think using one of these wire brushes would be really cool to give us, oh yeah, look at that. Really nice hair texture here. Now I'm focusing all of my detail on the front because of the nature of what I'm making, but if you wanted to make like an ornament or a three-dimensional pendant or, you know, just anything like that, just do the same thing for the detailing, but all the way around. You may need to get a little creative about, you know, how you prop your piece up. But if there's a crafter, there's a way. I believe in you. So I'm going to start just scratching in quite deep. There we go. And really only focusing on dragging the wire in one direction, because we can then lift this off of our work surface and add in a little bit of that twisty twist. And now look at how cute that is with the little beard lines doing their thing. We can smush things up together a little harder and then try to continue the lines around. But I'm most concerned about having them there in the front. Okay, there's that. And so if you're having difficulty getting your piece to stick together, let's see, do we have, yes, we have this little guy, which is our conical silicone point. And I'm just kind of pushing up and in. And this will help merge the beard into the hat. And so I'm going to pick this one up and I'm going to do that same thing. And I'm just pressing, if you can kind of see here from the side, the pressing up and in. And it's just pushing some of the material from the beard into the hat. And there's the timer for our noses. So let's go get those out of the oven. Okay, so I have pulled the noses out of the oven. I only baked them for about 5 minutes, but that should be plenty for what we're going for. And so yeah, again, just pushing up and in. You could also, depending on how much and what style of detail you're interested in, use something like this sharp angled, and you can kind of press in and get some bolder, deeper lines. There we go. And so now, yeah, that's on there, and I love it. So I'm going to twist this one the other way a little bit, just because, again, potential for earrings. I love having them be mirrored. I mean, that would be, that'd be a really big earring. But that's okay, that'd be kind of cool, you know, like holiday earrings. You could definitely do like little Santa gnomes, or little like pumpkin witchy gnomes, or St. Patrick's Day gnomes. Like, I mean, the possibilities are endless. Just regular old gnomey gnomes. Every day is good, like every day is gnome day. Okay, so I have lost the little section. There it is. It fell down out of our bunch. So I'm just tearing off a bit, and this is about 1.5 inches of beard. And I'm going to start just attaching these to the bottom side of the hat. So I've laid it against and then folded it up. And I really like to use the flat silicone tool. These come in a pack together. And if you can find them on sale, they're quite, I mean, they're a good deal anyways, but I'm always looking for stuff on sale. but I just press that in, and then whenever we fold it down, it has this little bit of like lift to it that I think is pretty neat. So I am going to prepare just a few of these, and you can also take some and pinch and just pull, and that can give a little bit of a nice like tapered end, and then you can fold it in half and twist a bit. I'm gonna have that be our next one. And for this first layer, I try to do all of them as like little hunky chunky layers of like 4 or more beard hairs. Just because I think it adds a whole lot of visual interest, or you could have a very tidy and well-kempt beard. Or an outrageously styled beard. So I'm just going to get a couple of these prepped. Because like these ones, they're all kind of the same length, but maybe that'll be nice. It certainly makes a nice little taper on its way down. So I'm going to change sides that I'm adhering our clay to. That one's going to look a little dinky, but that's okay. Maybe it'll be perfect. Maybe he's got like a worry spot on his beard where he just like pets a lot. My dad had that on the cheeks of his beard because he was always kind of petting and playing with his beard, so it kind of wore these 2 spots a little thinner than the others. So there we go, getting that twisted around. Oh, I love it. And then again, just pressing up. As with most things, it kind of speeds it along if you do a bunch at once. But little ones like this, you could actually take and just like twist together, and that itself could be the beard of just another tiny gnome. So I'm going to save that off to the side because you never know when you're going to make a tiny gnome. So there's that. And then I'm going to find, oof, it's another loose end. So let's see if we just grab and pull. That gave us a whole bunch of little loose stringy bits. And I'm just going to grab and pull those off. Like I said, forbidden spaghetti. Please don't eat this. And then I like to pull them because it tapers the ends and it gives us some variation kind of beyond maybe what if I were meticulously pinching and primping every single end, I might not have ended up with such variety and visual interest. So there's that, and then let's take these 2. Oof. My neighbor's rooster's just hollering. There we go. Oops, tearing off little pieces. I don't know if the camera's picking up on it, but he just hollering. Okay, and I'm just building kind of around, so if you can see, it looks like a strange creature right now. But that's all right. So again, just gonna fold that in half and twist. I really like the nice big chunks. I'm feeling them for these ones, for these gnomes today. And you can have little twists and gnarls in them too. Okay, and then I'm going to push up, just getting that kind of wedged in. And now I am going to lift this up off of our work surface. And look at this wild man. Oh my gosh, what a crazy beard. And you could add little twists of braids. All sorts of stuff, y'all. You could add little beard charms and beard beads. But I'm just going to start poking and primping all of his little beard hairs down and in and around. And then as we get here to the tip, just shaping and adding that final twist. And I like to get these things smushed in together. And now we must make a mustache. So I like having a couple different lengths, and I really like the ends being tapered. There we go. And then I'm going to pinch quite well here just in the middle, and then I'm going to twist. And I twist and pinch, and that kind of helps set my twisting. So twist and pinch, twist and pinch. And then I'm going to set our mustache off to the side. And I'm going to get in here just a little and lift. Oh, that's way too straight of an edge. I ought not have done that, but now we get to see how to repair that. I like to come through, this is from the same set of sculpting tools, and just lift with the dough foot tip. I think that's what this is, at least. And I'm just pulling up on the brim of our hat just a little bit. And you could either use a ball stylus, or you can just use the end of one of the tools. And I like to do a little bit of like a nose bump on the hat just by pressing in and lifting up. And now I'm going to set it on the table, and this is where I'm going to kind of leave it from here. And I put the mustache in, and then I push the nose in on top of the mustache. And then we're going to press that up like a Yosemite Sam mustache. I know I said I was going to leave it on the table, but here I am. And then just pressing on down. And you can add any other little hairs wherever you think you might need them, but I'm very pleased with our little gnome here. And I'm going to set him down, and I'm going to use our silicone tip to just add in the same direction as what we were initially twisting him. I'm going to kind of smush everything down to the tile now. Oop, let me set those off to the side. And just pressing in kind of gently. I don't want, super harsh tool lines. You could use rubbing alcohol to remove tool lines if you feel like they're too much. So I kind of like the rough lines though. They all calm down eventually. So again, just kind of pressing. Like I like to do the lines and then press into the tile. So our gnome beard is very nice and twisty. And you could do just like a little ball with a face on it. You could use these gnome hats as just a bead cap for like a hanging earring where you have like a little bead or something. So there's that guy. Oh, I love his little beard. And really, if we had made this part larger, we could have just left the beard just like that. You don't have to do, if you don't like that look, don't do it. Like you could have just carved in with the wire brush and left it as is. And with a very slight modification, we could have just made these mushroom caps with little like crystals for stems, or just cute little stems, or like little bodies hanging down with like the mushroom cap as the head. So there's always exciting variations to partake in. So I'm wondering if I just grab like here and pull, and then take this and just go like that. That's a pretty fair way of applying a beard too, y'all. Like, that seems to work out just as well. I don't know why I'm always overcomplicating it. Now to make them match, I'm going to want to do like some matching like twisties and stuff. So let's see. I kind of like getting the different lengths and stuff, so I'm going to try pulling a little more slowly. There we go. That got us some different lengths. And then we can pull off the little segments. So there's as many different ways in this world to do it as there are people to do the thing. Ooh. There we go. And so now, just twisting, because I do want it to match the other one. And then here is our flat tool. There we go. And I think sometimes I like to do them a little off center from the middle. And there we go. I'll save that one for the mustache. Mustache, mustache. Do, 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 do. So I have such a difficult time, y'all, trying to get them to match. So I'm not super stressed about it. Because if anybody's like, oh, these earrings don't match, I'll be like, they're buddies. Like, they're not twins, they're buddies. Oops. Oh, that's tricky. I didn't mean to leave a fingernail print in the hat. So we're going to pick this up. I'm going to kind of primp those down. Look at his beautiful windswept beard twisting in the wrong direction, so I'm going to twist it this way. There we go. Oh, and there's the timer on the stove. If the beard gets a little, well, so if the beard gets a little too long, let's see, and I know I said I wasn't going to keep, but if it gets too long, you can either squish them up a little bit and see what happens, or you can like break the tip of the beard off like how I did earlier with that little piece. But there's all sorts of different ways, and in fact I think that little piece I'm going to use, and I'm just going to smush in like that, and then I'm just going to press like that. And now for his little mustache, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and do some of the twist lines. No, I do like doing that with it laid down. That way my hands aren't distorting it. So I just like taking them and dragging it through. There we go. And that's a good bit more than what I did on the other side, but let's see how it tones down whenever we've smushed everything. There we go. Let's do just a few hairs for the mustache. There we go. Twist and smush. Twist and smush. Just leaving that sit there. Bringing this around, let's use the dough foot to lift just a bit around the brim. And then we can use the end of the brush to press and then lift up to give a little bit of that like nose dimple in the hat. And then let's position the nose Waluigi style. And smush the little nose already baked into place. And there we have, one of them's upside down, our little gnomes. And so I'm going to bake these at 275 for about 20 minutes. Nah, 30. They're about half an inch thick, so I'll go ahead and do that. And if you wanted to do a clay like this where it's colored, Cos Clay has a really great Art Deco that I seem to have lost. Here it is, Deco Clay. And it's very vibrantly colored and it bakes down beautifully. So like this is a hat that I've made for, and you can see it's got a little bit of wiggle to it, but that's fully intentional because it's a rubberized polymer. So it bakes down to nice and springy and very durable. And you could paint it with acrylic paints, but I do recommend sealing with the thing that I can't find. I do recommend sealing it with Cos Clay Clear Coat. I airbrush this onto stuff, but you can paint it on as well. And I do a few coats of that to make sure it doesn't get sticky, and then I can paint it with whatever paints that I like. And then I finish it off with another coat of the sealer. If y'all would like to see more tutorials about this sort of thing, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave me a comment down below. And if you enjoy our free tutorials but would like to support the creation of more of them beyond liking, sharing, and subscribing, we do have our Happy Crafter Club here on our YouTube channel membership, as well as on our website, backtoearthcreations.com. And we send out monthly kits with the handmade cabochons that we make here in our home studio. And they're like project kits. So we have a new project every month, or you can make whatever you like with them. But links to all that stuff are down in the video description. Thank you to everybody for all of your support. And I will see y'all next time. So until then, happy crafting. Mwah! Bye.